across the way. Lu Shen was the first to react, immediately locking his eyes on the spot where that weird tremor just hit. Delius was also caught off guard by the sudden disturbance, turning his head back and quickly dialing back his fighting intent since he wasn't in the mood to keep scrapping anymore. Their confrontation ground to a halt as both Lu Shang and Delius stared toward the center of the heavenly serpent's heart with dead serious expressions. Right then, those blue energy currents in the distance started surging violently and converging in one direction. A split second later, a massive explosion suddenly rang out. Lu Shen tracked the source of the vibrations and saw the space at the center collapsing, forming a deep blue rift. Since he wielded spatial power, Lu Shen was super sensitive to these shifts, so he focused on tracking every change in that rift. Looking closer, he realized that behind that massive hole lay an endless, vast expanse of space. This familiar feeling triggered some old memories for Lu Shang. He frowned slightly, noticing how much this place resembled the spatial crack he'd accidentally fallen into back on planet Azure. While Lu Shang and Delius were eyeing the rift, a bunch of figures started popping up from all over the place. Every single one of them was heading toward that newly formed blue portal. Lu Shen noticed the crowd gathering and gave them a quick glance before long. The group had huddled right behind him. Lu Shen could tell they were all top-tier young martial arts geniuses who seemed to have been drawn in by the portal's fluctuations. After checking everyone out, Lu Shen's gaze landed on the Polar Blade group that had just arrived last, as even they seemed shaken by the event. Just as the tension was ramping up, a booming voice rang in Lu Shen's ear, making him turn around because the speaker mentioned that everyone seemed to be accounted for. It was the representative from the Heavenly Position Academy who had just returned, accompanied by two others. Right away, the brown-haired man with the representative announced the entry requirements. Anyone under 500 years old with level 12 strength or higher could enter the portal for the selection. Then, the other long-haired man added that only those who passed the trials would be allowed to stay in the Heavenly Position Academy space. After the other two finished, the Academy representative finally spoke up to drop the most important piece of news. He scanned the crowd and officially declared the start of the Heavenly Position selection. Lu Shen quickly grasped the rules. Everyone goes through the portal, those who meet the criteria are in, and everyone else is out. Still, Lu Shen had his doubts while looking at that blue gate, since nobody had explained the format of the selection or what was actually waiting for them inside. While Lu Shen was lost in thought, a cold snort from someone nearby made him look over instinctively. It was Delius. Seeing Lu Shen looking at him, he acted all annoyed and challenged him, saying he'd be waiting inside, while mocking Lu Shen not to chicken out. With that, Delius didn't wait for a response, and flew straight into the blue rift. But right after Delius entered, someone in the excited crowd pointed somewhere and shouted for everyone to check out what just appeared. Everyone looked over and saw a massive leaderboard screen where Delius's name was listed with a 0 completion rate. This detail clued Lu Shen in on another rule: the selection wasn't just about passing the trial, but also about the rankings, which could affect the final outcome. As Lu Shen was breaking things down, the martial arts geniuses from the Heavenly Serpent's heart started buzzing about Delius. Plenty of them were hyped to see him being the first one to take on the challenge. This made sense given how famous Delius' sovereign-level bloodline was, especially since news of his fight with Lu Shen hadn't gotten out yet. If word of that battle had leaked, it definitely would have caused a much bigger stir. So, the people around there just kept praising Delius as the pride of the Heavenly Serpent's heart. Lu Shen heard it all, but just gave a faint smile without saying a word. Seeing Delius make his move, the others didn't hesitate any longer and rushed toward the entrance. Figures kept flying inside amidst constant shouting and urging. Just as Lu Shen was about to head out, a timid voice called out from behind him. The person hesitantly called him Brother Lu. Lu Shen turned around to see a Nam Turing awkwardly rubbing his hands, while Dust stood beside him looking too shy to speak. After a moment of hesitation, a Nam Turing gave a forced laugh and asked if they could tag along with him. Lu Shen didn't turn down the request. He calmly replied that tagging along was fine, but they'd likely be split up once they went through the gate. A Nam Turing misunderstood him, and quickly promised they wouldn't get in his way, which made Lu Shen feel a bit helpless since that wasn't what he meant at all. Not wanting to deal with the hassle of explaining, Lu Shen turned toward the entrance and told them both to move out. Right after saying that, Lu Shen led a Nam Turing and Do into the selection portal. He walked decisively through the blue energy barrier surrounding the entrance. The moment he crossed the barrier, Lu Shen's entire surroundings changed completely. Instinctively, he turned back to look for a Nam Turing and Do, but they were gone, just as he'd expected. Lu Shen wasn't surprised at all. Getting separated was exactly what he figured would happen. Now that he was alone, he began calmly checking out this new space. Right then, a flash of white light appeared, and a figure slowly stepped out from within. This guy had a sword at his hip, and radiated a very unique vibe. With a friendly attitude, he smiled and welcomed Lu Shen to the first challenge of the Heavenly Position selection. He introduced himself as the examiner for the stage and told Lu Shen he could call him Shi. Lu Shen kept his cool and asked directly about his next task. She simply replied that Lu Shen's mission was to defeat him to pass the trial. After hearing the rules, Lu Shen loosened up his wrists, looked Shi straight in the eye, and asked if they could start right away. She kept smiling and said Lu Shen could attack whenever he wanted, using any weapons or skills without any restrictions. However, Lu Shen's reaction took him by surprise. He looked down confidently and said none of that was necessary because the fight would be over in a single hit. That comment left Shi confused, making him knit his brows. He couldn't seem to wrap his head around why Lu Shen was so cocky. But a moment later, his doubt turned into shock as a powerful burst of light flared up in front of him, making his face drop. The energy coming off Lu Shen was unlike anything she had ever seen. It was as blinding as hundreds of stars exploding at once. Lu Shen clenched his fist and took a step back to build up momentum. Feeling the terrifying pressure, Shi lost his composure and immediately drew his sword to defend, even though he had no idea how the attack was coming. Lu Shen funneled all his power into his fist, making the veins on his arm bulge, and then he lunged forward with everything he had. The moment the blow landed, a massive boom echoed, and Shi's position was swallowed by a brilliant golden light that hid both of them from view. Faced with such overwhelming power, Shi could only scramble to put his arms up in self-defense. However, his defensive effort wasn't nearly enough against that strike. A shattering sound rang out, and Shi's sword instantly snapped into pieces. As the light faded, Lu Shen stood there calmly and asked if that was enough to pass the trial. After taking that horrific hit, Shi broke out in a cold sweat and gave a forced smile, confirming the result was totally valid. Finally, Shi looked at Lu Shen and officially acknowledged that he had cleared the first stage.